Hey everybody, Questwise here, and this is going to be a very different video from what you have come to expect from me. But I'm making some changes to the channel a little bit, and truly what I'm sort of arcing for in the future is things that really get me excited, things that have really ignited my imagination, my passion, and one of the things that I've been sort of looking into lately is this, what's affectionately known online and through a community of hobbyists as Gunpla. And that is building Gundam kits. These are from Bandai. It's a Japanese modeling kit. And I kind of want to show you some of the stuff today and why this is getting me really excited. And we'll talk about this kit. This is a brand new kit that I have, that I've taken the little wrapping off, but I haven't even really opened it yet. This was a gift to me, and I'm super excited about putting this together. But first I want to talk about sort of how my experience has gone in the past with these, and how I've gotten into this idea, a part of this sort of diversion in the hobby, and my sort of history with model building. So let me show you the very first one that I built, and it is this particular one. And to be honest with you, I don't even remember. I want to say it was like the Unicorn Gundam. I could be completely wrong. I forgot. This was the very first one I ever built. It's the only one I've built so far. But I've been modeling for many years. I've done a lot of model builds over the years. My experience with that was early on in my role-playing experience, when I discovered that there were fantasy figures to build, fantasy dwarves and elves and figurines that I could build and paint to add to the experience of role-playing. And in that, there are those early models. I'm talking early 90s, 91, 92 is when I got into the hobby. I wouldn't say about maybe 92, 93 is when I first experienced my first sort of miniature figure. Those figures were not very customizable. They were usually a molded metal, so there wasn't a lot of, none to very few parts that you had to glue together. And then I was introduced to a box of Games Workshop miniatures, which is a blend of dwarves. I think there were 10 dwarves, 10 elves, 10 humans, and 10 orcs maybe. And I got this box and put it together. They were multi-part kits, but they were, again, very few, like maybe 2 to 3 pieces glued together on a square base. And from there I began to explore deeper into the hobby a little bit more. In later my very high school years, I had an uncle who lived nearby who was very into model train building, and so I got to experience that aspect of things, the mechanical side of model trains, as well as the terrain itself, building, the tracks and the buildings and the people and the landscape itself was very satisfying to me. And I was very excited to learn how to do those things. And of course I was horrible at it. And I wish I still had a few of the pieces from my early sort of hobby career, in that, my first dwarf I ever painted had straight silver armor and orange hair and, no washes whatsoever. As well as some of the very first sort of model kits I put together for trains. They were horrible, but it was enough of it was enough that it stoked my imagination enough that I wanted to continue. I wanted to get better. I began to buy magazines. I began to buy books based upon how to build and how to model and how to paint. And then, of course, in college, I really got into the Warhammer hobby. Warhammer 40,000 and Warhammer Fantasy, and some of the off derivatives of that, like Blood Bowl and Necromunda. And that excited me enough more to sort of continue in that aspect of things. Legos, I got into Legos. I really enjoy putting Lego kits together. Of course, now in the current age, those kits are completely amazing. And it wasn't until maybe a year or so ago that I was introduced by a friend who co-owns, I guess, or runs a local store called Grand Traverse Games, or GT Games. And he introduced me to this concept of Gunpla, or Gundam building. And I was blown away simply by the aesthetics of this at first. I knew nothing about Gundam other than it was a Japanese sort of cartoon about these massive robotic suits, which of course was super exciting to me, having been a big fan of playing things like Rifts, the role-playing game, Palladium, that type of thing. Though that company, Palladium Games, having role-playing games with ideas that you had these giant robotic suits that you could pilot. Robotech, the role-playing game. Again, I was never a fan of those types of cartoon styles, that anime style. But I was really fascinated by the concepts of robotic suits. Even to the point of like Transformers was really fascinating to me. Robots that could sort of transform into other forms. And again, my passion and my imagination began to grow, and what are the possibilities? And when my friend told me about this Gundam hobby of building these suits, I began to do some research, and this was the very first kit I bought. And when I started to put it together, I was completely blown away. I mean, completely bamboozled by the fact that for years I had done like model tanks, and I had done model trains and cars. And while those were very precision kits and they were very fun, there were always some minor inconsistencies. And because I wasn't part of a hobby community in which the people could show me how to do those things, I had to refer to the internet, I had to refer to magazines on tips and tricks and stuff, and how that worked, and how to use hobby tools in order to perfect those kits. Excuse me. And so I began to grow and understand how model kits are put together. I went from the very like easy snap build kits of like tanks to the idea of more higher grade kits in which you were adding actual metal parts to the kit. Some of the kits were very basic in that you had sprues of just green plastic, and you're trying to put those together with instruction guides that were not very clear, and you're referencing photos of actual tanks and planes and trucks and cars to try to get inspiration as to how those kits should fit together and what those parts were. So then I come to this hobby, and I open the kit, and I'm looking at these sprues, and I'll show you the other Gundam I have here in the box, and exactly what I'm talking about in the sprues. And I began to put the thing together. The instruction booklet is extremely detailed. I mean, beyond anything I'd ever seen before. And the technology, the imagination that goes into someone designing a kit like this is utterly amazing. These require no glue to put together, and they are fully articulated once built. As you can see, I mean, the knee joints, the hip joints, the arm joints, they pivot out, they pivot in, they pivot down, the head pivots and turns. You have all these accessories which are removable, and these little gun pods, they just snap back in. Everything, the joints, the way that the things are built, the backpacks, these are all removable, the little special effects. And there's so many possibilities to this. And this is, looking at some of the stuff I've seen online, some of the other kits that have been built by people, I did I mean, I felt like the kit itself sort of lent to the pure perfection of this hobby, and how much passion and how much love and dedication goes into building a kit like this, and designing a kit like this, you know. And this is something that just completely amazes me, and I've really fallen in love with this hobby. Now, this kit, while it looks to me very, very nice, I was very happy with the fact that, you know, these pieces, these colored pieces, these clear pieces, they're all on the sprue exactly like that. So you could put a kit together like I just did here, and leave it on the shelf. And this, in fact, this one's been on the shelf with this little stand for about a year now, and yeah, I'm perfectly happy with it. But the more and more I delve into this hobby, the more and more I look at this kit, and I think there's so much more I could do to this to make it look even better. Panel lining, you know, Bandai sells these great paint sets, these paint pens that you can use to panel line these little, and it's probably really hard to see on the video, but you know, these little panel lining things, and you simply, you know, put the wash in there, wipe it down, and then you would get these very accentuated details of all the panels on this kit. I've even seen people who have taken airbrushes and done each individual pieces into custom coloring and painting these particular kits. And I'm super fascinated by this whole concept. And so this is, like I said, this is the very first one I built. I may go back. I might just leave it the way it is because I'm happy with it the way it looks here. But I'm also, I think I want to leave it this way so that in the future, the more kits that I buy and I build, I want to see my progress in the hobby as it goes along, and see how I've improved my skills at building. This can be very fiddly. You definitely want to, I think this was a high grade. The kits come in a variety of different grades. As you can see here, this is a HG or a high grade. There's perfect grade, which is the big mega kits. There's master grade, and they all have different levels of detail. So for instance, the sort of frame of this is exactly how it looks. It's just the frame put together with these armor pieces put on over top. But when you get into like the perfect grade and master grade, you're actually building an inner framework of the robot suit itself before you add all the extra armor pieces on top of that. And so all of that's customizable. All of that is something that you can accentuate in your build. I've seen a lot of pictures of perfect grade kits where they'll split it right down the middle, and they'll have half of it completed with all the armor bits and weapons, and the other half being just the framework of the suit itself, the actual inner workings of the robotic suit, where you can see all the gears and you can see all the connection points and cables and pistons and all that kind of stuff. So if you've never experienced Gunpla or Gundam building kits, and you love the aspect of building models, this is something I would really recommend trying. I would begin with a high grade kit. I believe from what I've read that this is the kit that they recommend, or at least this level of kit that they recommend for beginning builders. If you're brand new to the hobby, if you've never built a model kit before, they do have, and it's escaping me right now what they're called, but they do have like beginner's kit that is simply like 4 or 5 pieces that just snap together to create this whole thing. But this was hundreds of pieces, hundreds of individual pieces all coming together perfectly without glue, that is fully posable and customizable. And that level of expertise, that level of dedication to a kit truly fascinates me, and really wants me to be better, to drive myself to be better to this hobby, because I feel like it deserves attention, and it deserves practice, and as sort of an homage or an honoring of the people who design these kits. So let's take a look at this one here. Like I said, this was a gift to me I believe it was maybe for Father's Day. But this is the Gundam Tri-Age Magnum kit. Koyokoju's mobile suit. Again, I don't really know much. I've watched a few of the episodes. I've watched a few of the movies. And while I'm not a big fan of that anime style, I found that it's still a fascinating world, that there are millions of people who are truly invested in the entire Gundam universe. And the Gundam universe itself has an amazing history going back decades. But this is what the box will look like when you purchase it. It's interesting, a lot like if you've ever done any Bandai kits before, or any of those Revell, which I believe is a German modeling company, Tamiya, some of those kind of kits as well. It's a very basic box. The back of it has nothing on it. All the details are on the sides. As you can see, it's in Japanese and in English. I'll give you kind of a feel of what the box looks like around the sides. This usually comes just banded with two pieces of plastic to hold it together. When you buy it in the store, the top lifts off, and then you have these bags. Please excuse the loud crinkling of sprues. And what's really interesting about this is that a lot of times when I was growing up putting kits together, you would get these sprues and they would just be a flat gray or a flat green or kind of an off-white of whatever you were building, and you were expected to sort of paint and detail those yourself. These are like a dual injected molded, this is not a paint, this is a different colored plastic that are fused to one particular sprue. And all the pieces of that particular color being sort of added to the sprue itself. So you can see on this sprue alone, we have a dark gray, we have this orange, and we have this sort of white or off-white, light gray colored sprues. There are also some decals in here. I've heard a lot of people in the hobby say that they hate these and they'll just simply paint them. Bandai and Tamiya, they offer paints that'll mimic a lot of these colors. It's kind of hard to see on here, but this is a metallic green, which on the other kit that I built, you can kind of see it in the eyes. There's actually a sticker. It is really hard to see. There we go, a little bit. But those are actually stickers that I put on with a pair of tweezers. And I've heard a lot of people say that they really hate those things. I don't mind them. I thought that they went on very well. They're precision cut in there as well too, so they will fold and mold to an accentuated piece as well. So very, very cool. You're going to get sprue after sprue. You have this clear pink plastic for the special effects. These are probably like laser sword blades, laser effects for some of the weapons. Very cool. Each sprue is going to be lettered and numbered as well. So you can see here, this is my hand behind it here. This is sprue F2, and it will correspond to the instruction booklet. When we get to that, it's at the bottom of the kit here. But each baggie contains maybe 1 to 2 sprues, so that they're all easily. If you've ever done some of the more modern Lego kits, this will be kind of familiar to you. There'll be like numbered bags, and it would tell you in the instruction sheet you need this bag to do this part of the build. This is kind of the same way. Each one of these, like another stand there that's similar to this one here, so to display it. But it'll let you know that these are the certain sprues that you need from this bag in order to build the certain part that you're on. And we got another bag of a ton of different parts. The other thing that's really great about these kits is that there are accessories, tons of accessories in here. This is like a clear green, almost like a cape, like an energy cape that's going to go on his back. You can see here this big blast of effect kind of sprue going on here as well. So these are all like optional accessories that you can add to your kit to sort of bring it to life, as well as Bandai selling additional kits, additional boxes that you can buy that can accentuate the kit itself, and any kit. They're sort of universal. I've even seen some of the more high, like the perfect grade kits will actually have magnets that are inserted into the build itself so that you can magnetize pieces to snap on. It's just an amazing, just a completely amazing hobby, and the level of detail that's gone into all of this stuff is just mind-blowing. So this is what the instruction booklet will look like, again in Japanese and English. Inside you're going to see all the pieces, all the parts, the instructions. The details of the instructions are extremely well done. I mean, it shows you with these little arrows exactly what the process of putting those things together are, how they snap together, what rotation it needs to be. They'll give you special little instructions. You'll see symbols like this that will refer back to things, telling you what that exactly means. But the instruction booklet itself is like this big sort of fold out panel, and as you can see here, it starts and works its way all the way through the build, and it's just, again, an amazing hobby. And I just wanted to share this with you today. It's just part of the hobby that I'm really growing to love. I love building models. I found that over the years I love to paint, I love to customize models, I love to build models. It's just part of the hobby that I really enjoy the most. Even within like the sort of the role-playing hobby, which is what I really focus a lot more on this channel, is the role-playing side of the tabletop role-playing side of things. I've really grown to love to build and paint figures for characters, for adversaries. I love building and painting and modeling kits for 3D terrain for tables that make it a little more interactive than just a dry erase battle mat. I think that really brings the immersion level into the game a lot more, makes it a lot more beautiful. And it's just part of the hobby that I've always really loved and really gotten into. And how far I will go with this sort of aspect of the hobby, I'm not sure, but I really, really want to see myself grow in my skill of building these, as well as painting these, as well as detailing these, because I think this is the hobby that really deserves that sort of level of attention and dedication. So thanks for bearing with me on this. I hope hope there's some of you out there that really enjoy this hobby as well. And if you do, leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you're building, what you think I should build next, what I should buy next. This is really the only two kits I have. This Tri-Age Magnum and this, I want to say Unicorn, I could be completely wrong, kit that I purchased before. But what are your favorite kits? What would you like to see me sort of talk about and build in this type of thing? And I'll show you the processes as I go along. Hopefully maybe just some pictures. If you haven't checked out my TikTok, I dove into that. It's still very new and foreign to me, but I use a little bit of that too, and I'll try to put a link to that down below as you check out my TikTok page, where I do short videos of things that I discover. Sometimes it's me opening magic cards, sometimes it's me flipping through a role-playing game. Very short videos in which I can just sort of quickly showcase something that I'm working on. So thank you for taking the time to watch this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. Like I said, it's a little bit of a departure from what I normally do, but hopefully it's something that you're all interested in as well. Until next time, I'm Questwise. Please stay safe, and as always, game on, my friends.